Hello, WWE Universe, and welcome to another WWE Universe episode. As WWE fans, we're going to take a look at a new WWE pay-per-view that Raw presented called The Great Balls of Fire. Probably the most weirdest name for a pay-per-view, and basically based off a song, pretty much, which I don't quite understand why they'd done that in the first place. But anyway, let's take a look and see what went down in the pay-per-view, shall we? So we have Tazwan. It's a bit of a weird name for a wrestler. Obviously, someone from obviously a Japan name to be precise. Would take on Neville for the Cruiserweight Championship, and once again, as too bloody obvious for a pay-per-view, Neville wins once again, remaining the Cruiserweight Champion. So obviously, nobody can beat Neville for the Cruiserweight title as of yet, which is kind of amazing how Neville has managed to still be the Cruiserweight Champion, for this amount of time. Like, no one's been able to knock him off at all, which I find very amazing in a way. So, yeah. So it looks like Neville remains your Cruiserweight Champion and remains to be the king of the Cruiserweights, which is insane to think. And then, of course, the next match would be Bray Wyatt versus Seth Rollins, and of course Seth Rollins wanted to prove to Bray Wyatt he can overcome his power, but obviously it wasn't the case, because unfortunately though, Bray Wyatt would then defeat Seth Rollins, which is the third of the Shield members. So basically Bray Wyatt has beaten all three members of the Shield in single matches pretty much, and yeah, so Bray Wyatt has been the only member of the Wyatt family to beat all three members of that group known as the Shield. So, interesting, to say the least. But anyways, moving on, we would go to our next match, which would be the involving Big Cass versus Enzo Amore, two former friends who are now no longer friends anymore, as Enzo Amore has to go face-to-face against his former tag partner, Big Cass, who has turned on him. And, he's become a heel lately. And obviously, what a major shock. Well, obviously not really a major surprise, but Big Cass was basically showed no remorse to Enzo Amore, pretty much hurting him in every corner, and manages to pick up the win in his first singles victory over his former tag partner, as this is pretty much the beginning of Big Cass's single matches career, and he believes he could be the guy to beat Brock Lesnar, which, yeah, go ahead, try your best and see where you get to, because I bet you in just a couple of minutes, Big Cass could get F5 by Brock Lesnar. I think there's a chance that he's going to get decimated by Brock Lesnar if he dares to take the chance. But anyway, so, a bit of a sad end to the Swerve team no longer existing, and seeing Big Cass decimate his former tag partner and basically upsetting a lot of Enzo Amore fans by winning. And then, of course, we come to the Iron Man match, where Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy would then take on Sheamus and Cesaro for their tag titles, but unfortunately for the Hardys, they did get a couple of points, but it wasn't enough for them to win the championship, because Sheamus and Cesaro manages to keep the title and still able to remain tag champions after 4 victories to 3, which obviously the Hardy Boys had 3, Sheamus and Cesaro had 4. Obviously, that means Cesaro and Sheamus are still your Raw Tag Champions, and the Hardy Boys are still fighting for that opportunity to become the tag team champions again, which, who knows? Hopefully that will come soon again. Who knows? And then gradually we come to the next match, which would be for the Raw Women's Championship, where Sasha Banks would finally get her opportunity against Alexa Bliss. And obviously Sasha Banks had fought her way through, but obviously she won by a count-out. But at the same time, Alexa Bliss would still be the Raw Women's Champion despite the count-out. So I think there's a chance these two will probably meet again heading into SummerSlam, and this will probably set the stage for, who knows, this might even set the stage for a triple threat, perhaps. Alexa Bliss, Sasha Banks, Bayley, perhaps. perhaps that could be where they're heading for SummerSlam, but we'll have to wait and see on this case because we don't really know for sure where they're taking the Raw Women's title match heading into SummerSlam. But the next match, of course, would be The Miz versus Dean Ambrose for the Intercontinental title. Dean Ambrose hoping to win back his title, but obviously The Miz continues to show his dominance thanks to Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel, who have joined The Miz, had basically assisted The Miz to win to remain Intercontinental Champion, beat Dean Ambrose, and leave with the gold. So The Miz continues his Intercontinental Championship reign at Great Balls of Fire. And then, of course, we come to the ambulance match where Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman are set to have their final encounter on pay-per-view, and Roman Reigns tried to fight his way through the match, and obviously he tried to do whatever he could to take down Braun Strowman, but Braun Strowman manages to win the ambulance match, but Roman Reigns refused to go inside the ambulance to the point where he would basically cause an absolute crash within the ambulance by putting Braun Strowman into an ambulance crash, and he gets the last word. So that means Roman Reigns had basically crushed Braun Strowman through an ambulance that crashed it out near outside the building. So obviously Roman Reigns would keep standing tall, refusing to bow down to Braun Strowman. So obviously Roman Reigns' target now will probably be on the Universal title, depending if Roman Reigns can get to that title. And then gradually we come to a bonus match, of course, where Kurt Hawkins would challenge Heath Slater into a match, and Heath Slater would manage to beat Kurt Hawkins in a quick win, after which Braun Strowman finally peeled from the wreckage from an ambulance, which obviously Braun Strowman would recover from that attack that Roman Reigns did in the match before. And then gradually we come to the main event, which would be Brock Lesnar versus Samoa Joe for the Universal Championship, where Samoa Joe would have his game face on, knowing that he's going to be in for a real fight against Lesnar, and he would do whatever he can to basically keep Brock Lesnar down so he can win. But obviously Brock Lesnar manages to suplex Samoa Joe and F5 him all the way to victory. But however, though, Samoa Joe would get the last laugh as he manages to attack Lesnar from behind and continue to be the dominating force on Raw, whilst Brock Lesnar is trying to get set for SummerSlam, which is when most likely his next Universal title defense is going to take place, which is going to be interesting to see who Brock Lesnar will face. Will he face Samoa Joe? Will he face Roman Reigns? Will he face Big Cass? Who knows? But the fact of the matter is that's when Raw will have its next pay-per-view appearance, and that'll be along with SmackDown at SummerSlam next month. That's when both Raw and SmackDown will be taking the stage for SummerSlam this year. Now, obviously, the next pay-per-view before SummerSlam is going to be SmackDown's Battleground, which will be towards the end of the month. So be sure to look out for the review for that on my channel. And then eventually we'll come to NXT TakeOver Brooklyn Part 3, because this will be their third year in Brooklyn for NXT TakeOver. And then gradually this would lead to like I said, this would then lead to to SummerSlam, and then eventually we'll get to our end-of-year WWE pay-per-views, where we'll have our final 4 months of pay-per-views leading up to Christmas this year. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see where things go from here. But the fact of the matter is, we'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you all in my Battleground review later in the month. See you then.